make a better life instead. You gotta give it all your best. So put your hands up to the sky and live your best life, alright. Don't just let it go by, just try, oh my. Got only one life, got only this time. We gonna get it right. You gotta let go of those who don't belong in your tribe. So cut the bad out of your life. Yeah, do it one time, one time. You gotta work till you're winning. Yeah, take control of the system. When you invest, it's addicting. No time to rest, let's go get it. Not gonna stop till I'm finished. Not gonna drop to my limits. Deep in my chest, I'm inhaling. Believe in testing and failing. You gotta flip everything in your mind. Take the limiting thoughts and turn them into your why. Prove to yourself you're worth it. You deserve it. Push past all the hurt and find your purpose. You gotta take control. Life's too short. Get out of your head.
Hello Internet, this is Marko Yamashita here, finally live again on my YouTube channel, bringing you the latest news on Cover Corporation's Hololive, their Q1, and their third in a row fiscal quarter miss on their financial results. Now, I do need to, disclaimer here at the very beginning, this is not a financial advice stream. I'm not here to give anyone financial advice. If you do want to make a financial decision on whether or not to invest, do your own homework, contact or converse with a financial advisor. If you feel like you don't have the adequate skills to do it. However, what I say is purely from my point of view and the way that I personally see things. It is not meant as advice for you to go out and do anything in particular. All right, so financial disclosure disclosed, and let's see here. Hang on one second here. Alright, sorry about that. Cat was being a little naughty there, so I'm gonna play some tunes in the background here while we are talking and while we are waiting. First off, what we're gonna do here is we are gonna take a look at let's see. Let's take a look at what the current futures look like here. Alright, so we're going to bring up the current futures here. So not everything has imported into TradingView. Unfortunately, they seem to be a little bit slow here today, but as we can see here for fiscal quarter 2025, they did have a surprise miss. Well, it wasn't a surprise for us because we were ahead on the game and we were doing the math on my channel weeks ago. But they did have a miss of 10.57 earnings per share, whereas they were estimated to have a forecast of 12.21. And if you recently saw my most recent post on the channel, you would know that that the current forecast for Q2 is pretty out there, and Cover Corporation right now has no intention of revising this or revising it down. So it looks like they are just going to admit that they're gonna miss, and they're literally gonna go an entire fiscal year quarter-wise of missing back to back to back to back, unless something happens, unless they have a big surprise here that really makes a big splash like they did last year. That's the only thing that could possibly get them out of that funk here. Doing the math, I do think that they will be able to at least hit their estimated revenue number of 1301. I do think that would be feasible for them, considering everything else. The EPS report, not so much. So, but let's take a look here real quick. So the U.S. market today actually traded really positive, despite some mixed indexes of the consumer price index. That was kind of a dicey subject where it was kind of touch and go, but it ended very positive. So that is something that at least Cover Corporation does have in their favor, where the Japanese market isn't going to be reacting to a bad U.S. market. That's probably not going to save them from the initial free fall, but that would probably at least save them or help them rather with a quicker recovery from a free fall. Now, just kind of a disclosure here, I have a number of watch lists up here. Some of them I just like to keep an eye on. Some of them are holdings I have. Some of them are just kind of like, these look interesting, that kind of thing. They're not. It's not an accurate reflection of what I currently have in my portfolio. But if you are curious about some of those things, I don't mind talking about them at all. But what we should look at here is how the Nikkei currently looks and what the futures look. Now, at the start of the index futures for this coming day for the United States, and then also for the Nikkei here that's opening in under an hour, the U.S. markets look like they are trending a little bit lower. The Japanese markets look like they are edging higher, which is a good thing. We can look here at one of the markets here that is currently currently active, and we can see that there is a lot of choppiness in the market itself. They actually had a record high in market price here recently before they backed down from there. So they are touching a market high. However, part of the problem that Japan is having is that wages are not keeping up with job demand. Consumer staples are starting to cost a lot more, which means discretionary spending is becoming a lot less. And when you get into consumer discretionary spending, that directly affects companies like Hololive and Niji Sunji, the entertainment industries like that, because you can live without spending money on the entertainment industry, but you can't really live without spending money on food, right? So, that's kind of where things are sitting at right now. And honestly, that it looked that there's a positive image that's coming out that things are beginning to kind of edge higher, especially with the election that recently happened and new people coming into the upper chambers of their government, and hopefully have a turnaround of government philosophy, the way things are run, how things are being done, that kind of thing. All that political stuff that's way beyond what we do on my channel here. But what we are seeing is some enthusiasm being injected into the economy over in Japan, which is a positive for companies like Cover Corporation, and any color ink, because that, if you get enthusiasm back into the market, people spend money, and then they're more willing to spend money on your product. Now, like what we're seeing right now here with pre-market for the Nikki for Japan. I mean, right now it's really hugging that upper line for on the BB bands here, and it's going in a positive direction. It's basically kind of doing its self-correction here at this point, where it is picking up from the initial low that it was in. It kind of depends. Honestly, you're looking at the money flow index here. You see that it's hit the top of the indicator here, which means that it's reaching a ceiling. Whether or not it can maintain itself up at that ceiling is really up for debate. As you can see, there's already downward pressure coming down on this candle right here. Same thing with the RSI here, the relative strength index. You have the strength index. This purple line here, basically that's your that's your line that you want to look at for where are things when you are looking for the strength of the current run. And then you have the signal line here that basically tells you, okay, if you cross over the line, you know that things are going to either go up or go down, depending on which way the purple line is going. Once you hit 80, that basically means you're in oversold territory or overbought territory. Rather, 20 is oversold, 80 is overbought. As we can see, we're starting to get some downward pressure here. So we have about 45 minutes here, so I'm gonna go ahead and cover some of the stuff that I wanted to cover. I know that we have some people poking their heads in and out. That's perfectly fine. I wanted to at least record some of this stuff. That way we have it recorded live, and then I will also be doing follow-up videos, doing more segmented type of content, so we can have a better organized catalog of everything that is currently happening. So I am going to go ahead and transition over to that. And there's my playlist. I'm looking for that. Okay, so we're gonna go over to playlist. Okay, so first thing I wanted to just kind of, it's the first thing on the screen, so I will just go ahead and say it. Yes, one comment that was made in my community tab was the fact that there was people are wondering what happened to all these loans and write-offs that were happening with Hollow Earth. Where are they going? Why can't we find them? And you really have to flip all the way to the back page of the actual financial results here, not the IR relations PowerPoint presentation. And they make a small little disclosure at the very end here. And what's interesting about this is that the depreciation and amortization, it's over double what they spent last year. They've actually put more into what they're doing now. They're writing off over twice the amount of what they spent last year this last quarter. Now, I don't think all of it is going into Hollow Earth. I do think that some of it is going into the new Hololive records. I haven't really done a lot of research into like how a record company is founded, what all is involved in it. how is it funded, how's it ran, that kind of thing. But I do, I do think that there's probably some monetary type of transactions that have to happen in order for you to have the adequate type of things secured, on the business side, for you to actually be able to claim to have a record, to be able to sign people on to these types of deals and all that kind of stuff. But the main point is that they are spending twice the amount, and this number actually kind of clashes with what Yago was originally saying about how much was going to be spent on Hollow Earth. So we can actually kind of infer from what he has said in the past, and with this number, that the amount of money that they're writing off isn't just for Hollow Earth. And Hollow Earth, of course, is a completely different topic, and right now there's so much stuff going on with Hololive that for a single person like me trying to cover all of it at once is I don't think I'm going to be able to do it all. I think I'm going to be able to talk about it in bite size at some point, but right now is probably not going to be that point. So, all right, so let's move on here. So, I wanted to go ahead and go through this result here while we are waiting. We have about 44 minutes before market opens in Japan. And the reason why I wanted to go through this presentation here is because a lot of our content creators, they tend to misrepresent what is actually being said and done, and they don't understand what is being said, and they don't understand what is being left out. So I wanted to go through as much of this as possible in the time that we had. So first off, we're looking at the financial results for Q1. We're going to skip this page because this page is meant to be a selling point. We're not even going to bother with it. All this is basically selling point. It's all fluff and telling you just how great things are, make up some excuses, or trying to plant seeds in your mind already of why things may not be as fluffy and pretty as they were in Q4, Q3. Basically planting the seeds in there of sympathy. Basically, that's what they're doing. All right, so. I wanted to focus on the financial highlight page here, because when we look at the financial highlight page here, we have a lot of telling numbers on here. First, when we look at year on year is going to be basically meaningless, because first of all, when you got all the way down to the net profit, they only made 73 million yen more than what they made last year during the same quarter, despite the fact that they actually made 3.2 billion yen more this year. They ended up with only 73 million yen more after everything was said and done. In other words, they spent the hell out of all the money that they made. So they made a lot of money and they spent it. It's already gone. So basically, yeah, the question is no longer, okay, yay, they made the money. That the question is, okay, so what did they do with the money? Did they invest the money into making the company more profitable, or did they invest it in things that are, just kind of local ventures? Where did the money go? You have to follow the money, all right? So when we look at developments into Q2, this kind of gives us a little bit of hope of what's going on. Looking into Q2, which is July, August, and September, so that's happening right now through September. Q2, by holding they have two company-sponsored mid-sized concerts in Japan, and a world concert tour that is going to be taking place from July through December. That's great news. That's a positive thing to happen. For exposure sake, that is good. Something good to happen. I will be making a point later on that is going to be kind of counterintuitive to my statement just there, but we'll get to that when we get to that. All right. They make a comment here that about concerns about the impact of U.S. trade policies on overseas demand, which was something that was definitely an influence on Q1. All right, the trade, tariff thing has been relatively taken care of. They're ironing out fine details on that kind of thing, so that is becoming less and less of an issue. And then, of course, they're planning large-scale collaboration with the Dodgers and other initiatives in the United States. That's decent exposure for a very segmented part of Americana. You are basically giving people exposure into Hololive, into an area that it's a big community. It's a big city. It's kind of limited because baseball isn't as big over here as it is in Japan, but it's something. It's at least giving more exposure. So when we go over to the historical trends in revenue and gross profit, I wanted to touch base on this real quickly because one of the excuses that keeps on popping up for Q1, and it was something that happened last year as well, is that I mentioned over and over and over again that Cover Corporation, just like Any Color Inc., their Q1 reports tend to be on the lower end of their whole fiscal year because you're looking at a company that's very cyclical in nature, and what that means is they go through a cycle. They have highs and lows. They have a weak quarter, and then they have their strongest quarter, and then you have everything in between. And that's part of what Cover is trying to convey to the reader here. Due to seasonality, in which sales of each service trends expand in H2, which is the second half, there's usually an adjustment compared with the previous quarter in Q1. They use this excuse a lot. All right, now in the past this would have been fine. However, there's going to be a case to be made if their competitor, Any Color Inc. and Niji Sanji, there's going to be a case that could be made if when they present their Q1 report next month, if they actually meet their forecasted goals, because they are actually presenting they are presenting a case where what is it? I just had it up on my screen here. 27%. They are making a case that they can generate a 27% net revenue for Q1 and surpass the net profit of Cover Corporation with their Q1 report. Now, if they can actually do that, that would be a devastating blow towards Cover Corporation, because Cover is only making 7% per quarter, barely, with what they're currently doing, and that's a concern. That's a real big concern. Now, that's not saying that I'm a Niji Sanji or Any Color fan over a Hololive fan or anything like that. That's just presenting the truth. right? When we look at this slide here for Cover Corporation, we do see that with the line here, you have 8.559 billion here on the top here. This dotted line here basically means that this is what has been paid in advance. So this typically means that this is like merchandise that has been bought and paid for, and they're just waiting for the merchandise to be shipped out and given to the customer here. And there has been steady progress with this, even though it is kind of flattening out here into the 2026 fiscal year. Now, one of the things that people continuously, they're continuously poking fun of with like Niji Sunji is they're always talking about how their watch base and their viewership base is falling and all this other stuff. Well, when you look at Cover Corporation, their viewer base, at least from a financial standpoint, has been relatively flat since 2024. And they did peak here in 2025 for Q3 and in Q4. But after the graduations that we've had recently in Cover Corporation, they've dropped back down to Q2, Q1, and pre-2025 levels. So, this is something of a concern here because you basically lost 400 million yen worth of revenue in streamer content here. That's basically what that means. Very, very interesting, but also very, very concerning about having that kind of drop, and whether or not the current talent can step up and fill that void. One of the other things I was going to mention later on, but I'll go ahead and kind of just tag it right now, is it is the amount of money that is being spent on events. I believe, So one of the things that Cover Corporation has been very, proud of doing is their events, and that looks better. And when we look at the business development by services for concerts and events, they've been actively adopting new stage techniques for live concerts, so on and so forth, integrating UE Live, that experience, better model design, better action movements with the models, better performance experience, so on and so forth. When you look at the data that they present here on the screen, the four bars on the right, when you pair them concurrently to this chart here, and see, this is one of the things that they kind of do to deceive the person that's looking at this. When you compare the bars, these four here, the last four concerts have all been profitable by various margins, but they have been profitable. Everything before Q2 of last year, they lost money by doing those concerts. Every single one of them, the expenses outweighed the supposed revenue that came in, according to these bars here that are on their page. So it's very interesting that they kept going the way that they did, and they must have been making up the difference through merchandise, or hoping that the events would be a way of commercializing and promoting their product or something to that effect. But these 4 bars here, the last 4 concerts, or the last 4 quarters here, the recent quarters, these were all these 4 were profitable. But everything before Q1 of last year, these last 5 here, all 5 of them were not profitable. They did not make money off of those concerts. And when you pair them up with the 5 historical trends here of revenue and the amount of money that was supposedly spent and brought in, and what the costs were, so it's very, very interesting. Let's also look at here. Okay, we're half an hour out, so let's flip back over to our live ticker here just really quick. Okay, so just kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at here. Futures markets here on the top right here. These are future markets for United States and for the Nikkei here. So far, Nikkei looks like they are slightly positive. The top here is for the U.S. markets. They are trending a little bit negative here, but everything is going bonkers right now. As you can see here, the Nikkei here is decidedly wanting to plummet all of a sudden, and we are watching this live. The indicator here refreshes every minute, so I specifically paid to have a live feed that refreshes every 60 seconds. So this is about as live as you're gonna get. And that's gonna be a big plunge. So yeah. So U.S. dollar to Japanese yen. It was strong here at the beginning, and right now in pre-market, well, there really isn't a pre-market for currency exchanges, but the currency exchange right now is trending lower for the U.S. dollar against the yen. That's good news if you are a foreign investor from the United States. It is what it is. Tokyo Stock Exchange does not have a pre-market, so that just opens when it opens, and that opens in 26 minutes. So, now 2 things are going to play out here. This is what the current market looks like for Cover Corporation. This is how they closed on yesterday. Sorry, I had to think for a second. This is how they closed yesterday, right? As you can see, there was some heavy selling off here. Some people probably panicked and sold off at the last minute. There was a lot of movement here, likely from shorts that were covering their positions. There were a lot of people that looked like they exited, especially at the beginning of the trading period here. This initial green bar was likely a lot of shorts that were trying to cover their positions. You had a lot of people trying to sell off. And what's interesting about the last part of this trading session, when you add up these last 6 bars, and then you subtract them from the last little bar here, the last little green bar, they almost balance out. So it's almost like somebody it almost looked like somebody bought into the market for 133,000 shares to counteract the dip here. I have no idea why it would do that, but okay. So that's what we got right now. We got 25 minutes. And if things happen the way that I think are going to happen, chances are once the market opens, it's probably going to be immediately held, and we're probably going to have to wait 10 minutes before we see what happens. That's typically what happens when cover or any color fall off a cliff or shoot to the moon. We'll see. So let's go ahead and we'll get back to our review here real quick. Okay, so business development by services. Okay, now what I found interesting here on this slide here is if you look at Q1 here, the bar for Q1 here, you see a noticeable decline in merchandise as a whole. I don't know if this is a typo. It looks like a typo. It looks like they did a typo here of the number twice. Because when you add these together, that's when you get this number up here. But the thing that kind of worries me about how they reported and what they reported here is that they are basically telling you that, we sold half of what we sold last quarter, but it's okay because we sold X amount in the card game, so everything's fine. And I personally I don't see it that way. I see it as, okay, we sold more in Q1 of last year, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. We sold more in Q1 of last year. It's a good thing. But we're having to lean more and more on this card game just to be profitable in our merchandising sales, which is basically what they've been leaning onto since Q2 of last year. I mean, they have been leaning so hard onto this merchandise, this card game as their main revenue point. And when you have a single point of failure like that, if for whatever reason your revenue stream from the card game dips, and you have no other avenue that is being sufficiently, compensating to be able to add to your existing revenue, you're going to have humongous dips in your output. You are going to have to be explain, or at least try to explain. Okay, yeah, we were short this month or this quarter because our card game failed and we had no other plan, to be a backup in case something happened, or we had no second plan to implement in tandem with this card game. And that's why I keep seeing on all these cards, all these slides, is that they are presenting, this is what we're doing, this is why we are failing, or this is why this looks so bad. Nothing saying, okay, this is how we're gonna fix it, this is what we're gonna do to make it better, this is what we're planning out, this is how we're game planning to make changes in the future. None of that, absolutely none of that. And there are tons of examples in this report or in this presentation where they say over and over and over that due to the seasonality of things that things are lower, or because of tariff related issues, there was a dip in sales from the United States. I mean, if you know these things are coming and you are telling this is going to be a completely separate topic, and it's going to be a recorded video that I'm going to do on the side here. But they discuss some of these things in the Q&A. That the transcript is in Japanese, but you can find it if you look at the community tab on my YouTube channel. I have a translation on my blog that you can look at. Over and over and over again, they keep saying that we're not paying dividends, we're not paying, we're not doing stock buybacks or anything like that, because we want to have enough revenue to be flexible and to be dynamic and to make changes as quickly as possible. But yet, over and over and over again, we keep seeing that when you look at what they are doing, they're not really changing anything at all. They are going straight ahead, just like they had gone the year before that, and that's why you continuously see this this Q1 fail. You come back here, it didn't fail on this, but this year here, or this quarter here, was very tight, and it was very down. And why did they say that this quarter was extremely tight physically? Because of seasonality. Why did they miss in Q3 and Q4 here? They said, well, it was partly seasonality, and that they didn't have the flexibility, and that they didn't have, they were overspending, and that they were reallocating resources and all. Over and over and over again, they're constantly saying these things. They never once say that we have, and that's another thing. They supposedly said that they found 15 million yen worth of inefficiencies that they had been able to free up and be able to apply that back into the revenue stream of the company. And it's like, great, where is it? It certainly didn't show up in Q1. I mean, if you had 50 million show up in the Q1, you would have been at least closer to your earnings per share goal or forecast, but you weren't. You weren't even close. It's things like that just it boggles my mind, because they only have, it's like they only have one idea. Marko, welcome. Alex, welcome. Hello, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for dropping in. You're 17 minutes away from the stock market going live here. So yeah, again, this is just something that really kind of irks me though about Crown Corporation, right? Because they tout all the success of like these concerts, right? But these 5 concerts here from Q1 of last year all the way back, they lost money on all these concerts. Last quarter, they made money, which is good. It's good to make money. But that's another thing that Incola did that they were criticized about, but in the long run, it helped them out tremendously. Is by toning down and streamlining the size of the concerts and the fan experiences and so on and so forth. Because the more flamboyant you try to make it, the more it's going to cost, and the more it's going to cost, the more you have to try to make at the event in order to make up the difference. And Cover keeps on finding out the hard way. It costs a lot of money to run these big, these big events. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I appreciate it. Song is very high. You cannot hear me. How's that? Is that better? Alright. couple of these songs, I'm using my playlist from my background playlist that I have from for my videos. But they're at volume at the download volume. They're not regulated for ducking for having somebody talk, and so some of them are much louder than others, unfortunately. So I haven't live streamed for like 3 months now, so I mean, it's basically a scuff stream all over again. So all right, so they have an Osaka official store, which I thought was pretty cool. And I'm guessing it's kind of like a pop-up or something like that. And they talk like it's good. It's the period over here, the official shop in Osaka. The periods from June through spring 2026 tentatively. I guess maybe they have to renew their lease or something like that. But that sounds really, really, really cool. Now, it's something that I found kind of deceptive here on this slide here was, again, they talk about the impact of the tariffs. However, they talk about on this slide here that they are already starting to see a recovery from the impact of the tariffs, and that this is partly untrue because the Q1 report runs from April 1st, so April, May to the end of June, and they didn't have the trade agreement finalized, at least from my memory, until July. So, there was kind of like a somewhat of a reprieve, but they did not have the actual trade agreement finalized. So I don't know how they could have seen a recovery if the tariff was still in place. There was also a lot of sentiment that people are like, okay, this might stay around for a while, so they just got used to it, and then they went back to trading as normal, even though the prices were inflated. But again, that's kind of another ball of wax there that we're not gonna dredge too far into. But I really like the idea that they are actually looking at trying to put it, open up an operation here in the United States to be able to do their e-commerce site here as a regional hub, because I mean that bypasses so much of the headache that people have of basically paying double for something you want when you want to support your favorite VTuber. It's like, yeah, I want to buy a couple plush dolls of my favorite VTuber, but I don't want to pay $400 for two plush dolls when they're $100 each or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. But let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Let's take the trading views light down there. Okay, there we go. All right. So moving on here. Again, they're really excited about the trading card game, which I completely get. I don't personally get into the trading card game stuff, but I mean, I get how popular and how exciting it can be. When my fellow friend VTubers, she's really into the whole Pokemon thing. So and then she also plays Yu-Gi-Oh and all those other kind of power trading card / monster games like that, and I get the appeal of it. I enjoy watching it. I don't enjoy playing it because it makes my brain hurt. But I understand the appeal of it, and I'm glad that it's very successful. My concern is that they are really over relying on it for merchandise purchases, and where is it? Yeah, right here. And here's exactly what I mean. Last year, they went from 35 to 39, and then they went up to 41, and then they went up to 47 last year, and then they went from 47 to 60% in merchandise sales by segment. 60%. That's a 13%. That's 13.3% jump in merchandise sales, and that's stemming from the card game that they're relying on now. And that's, are you going to be able to keep that sustainable? Is the question. I don't know what the life cycle is of those trading card games, or how how well the longevity is of those card generations, or how well you have to plan those out for multiple generations, or if you have to put in evolutions, or whatever the case is. But it's kind of concerning, what I'm saying, because it's like, okay, you're doing a good job with that. Now, what are you pairing with it in order to make it sustainable, and then grow something with it, so you're fostering two things instead of just one. Let's see here. Let's see what else. I touched a bit on this here on my community tab, and also on X. I questioned the legitimacy of them touting this unique experience that allows fans to interact with VTuber performers in a space not available on other platforms, and then they include a Minecraft picture, which is a private server which none of us get to interact with the VTuber in a 3D space unless they actually open up a public server that we can all join into, so we can enjoy that experience together, which they're not going to. So it really made me laugh. I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's neat, and I squinted and looked at it a little bit closer, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Minecraft. And I'm really asking the question: why are you using a Minecraft picture when promoting Hollow Earth as a platform? That doesn't make sense, but okay. One of the things here towards the end that I really found, it's not professional to picture Minecraft. Well, yeah. I mean, for one thing, it's like, okay, I was thinking about when I was looking at it, and when I put it up on X, and I put it up on my community tab. I was thinking about it, right? And I'm like, okay, I can see I could see if they wanted to make like if they wanted to make Hollow Earth and they wanted to make like different cities or theme parks or stuff like that, because they've done those types of things with other people have done those things, other companies and organizations. I mean, for crying out loud, they have Disneyland and Disney World and all those other things that have been recreated to scale, right? And I mean, there are people that have gone out of their way to make skylines of various cities and what have you. So I mean, I could understand them if they wanted. I mean, they play so much Minecraft as it is. I could actually see them reaching out to the Minecraft developers or their publisher and saying, "Hey, let's have a cooperation here. We'll build all this stuff. And while we're since we push Minecraft so much, and then we can do all this stuff. We can show them how the true power of Minecraft and what you can really do with it, so on and so forth." I can see them doing that, right? But instead they had to go and make from scratch a product for for a problem that already had a solution. There's already different things out there that you could have used to solve that problem. There's VR chat type stuff. There are alternatives that are already in place that you could have either built upon or collaborate with, or say, hey, let's become partners, let's do a joint venture together. I don't know, those types of things. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Why are you creating a solution for a problem that doesn't exist? That's my question. I can understand if the problem was there and you were trying to make a solution for it, but there are a lot of already ready-made solutions that you probably could have used that was better suited for it. And I'm actually kind of befuddled that they went off and they used Unity to create Hollow Earth, and then like 6 months later they turn around and they license Unreal to do all of their stage stuff. And it's like, well, why didn't you just wait 6 months and do everything in Unreal? Or why didn't you just buy everything in Unreal 6 months earlier and then announce things all at the same time? I mean, why are you using two different engines? Now you have two different teams working on two different projects with two different engines. What are you trying to achieve here? And the bad thing of it too is, if you go back and you look at some of the charts here, the expenses. If you look at the expenses very, very, very carefully here, and this is another thing I noticed, right? These used to be separate charts. The historical trends of cost of sales and SG&A. These used to be separate charts. Now they're all combined, and the reason why they're combined is because the cost on both ends of these spectrums have gone through the roof. And so by making them smaller and putting them all on the same page, it makes it look like it's a smaller problem than it really is. All right. When you look at this chart objectively, one of the things you see here is all of a sudden you have this like other cost of sales. That's all it says, other cost of sales. And and if you look at the bars here, I mean, it's basically a catch-all. there's no explanation for what it is, right? You already have the performer pay, you already have you have outsourcing, you have event expenses, you have manufacturing costs, but this is just a catch-all. And the other thing is, when you look at outsourcing expenses, oh, it's 7 o'clock. Hey, wait, we gotta go back. Here we go. Oh, look at it drop. They didn't halt it. Whoa. Look at it go. It's going. We are at 1%. Can it keep it above 1? I'm actually impressed that it didn't drop 10% automatically. I am actually impressed. And there's actually upward pressure so early. The bad thing that we see here. Okay, we've gotten past 2%. The bad thing that we're seeing here, though, guys, is that the Tokyo Stock Exchange is currently in the green. All right, so that is a plus. Oh! Someone is putting up pressure. We may have a reversal here. We have the reversal. Do we have a strong enough reversal? Yes, we might have a strong enough reversal. It just might fight it off. It's so amazing you can be so entertained by just this little line going up and down on a chart. Real quickly, I want to add momentum index. Alright, so momentum index is curving up. It's already bottomed out. Relative strength index is pushing up. There is upward pressure on that. Money flow. Right now, the money flow is flattening. However, it had bounced back from oversold territory, but that's flattening. Same thing with the RSI. The RSI is crossing back over downward, and the momentum index is struggling to stay positive. So this may be one of those deals where you don't get that instant bottoming out. But okay, I said that too soon. They gapped down extremely hard. The other problem that we've seen is that there has been a lot of shorts that have been sitting on Cover Corporation for quite a while, and basically what they've been doing is they've been rotating their shorts. They'll sit there and they'll cover their positions, they'll sell some off, and then they'll just kind of repeat the process. And that's why we've had this sideways motion and so much volatility with the cover with covers. With their stock price, is you've had these people that have just been sitting on these shorts waiting for an opportunity to be able to sell off, and it's basically soured a lot of people on the company, because why would you want to buy stock in a company when you know these people are just kind of sitting there waiting for anything to be able to sell it off at a low price, and then that's going to bottom out your shares of the company. Oh, they've hit 3%. Now the other interesting aspect of this is, if you look at the ticker here at the top here, any color, their stock price is also in the negative 40. Now this could be a chain effect with lock and step with Cover Corporation, or it could be in connection with the Nikkei, because right now the Nikkei is down 200, which it's kind of strange because the Tokyo exchange is up 16 points. You usually don't see that kind of divergence that big, but there could be any number of reasons why there's that kind of divergence. To be honest, I mean they could be diverging like that because there are international things that are happening that have caused those companies to fall in price, whether it be trade tensions or whatever. But they've hit 4%. Now I'm just going to say this now. Excuse me. I'm just going to say this now. If they hit 19, in the 1900s, I'm going to buy at least another unit, which is 100 shares of the company. And while I'm thinking about it, oops, no, I want to do that. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. Why are you on that side? There we go. Alright, so what you see on the right side of the screen here is a website called Alpha Spread, and what the nice thing about their site is you're able to get a they do 3 a week. You can get 3. You can get they'll do the intrinsic value of 3 companies for you every week. And they do international companies as well as United States, which is really awesome because you don't really find too many sites that that'll do both. And they have not updated this since yesterday's earnings release, but they do have this really neat deal here where they give you the worst case scenario, best case, and their base case. And basically, if we look at their worst case scenario, if the stock isn't worth what we thought it would be, the intrinsic value of the Cover Corporation is still $31.26, and what they mean by that is the intrinsic value is basically what it's really worth. When you take out and you strip away all the different people's opinions, when you're looking at just bare, you're looking at bare facts, and you're looking at the actual numbers. You're looking at calculations. You're not looking at anybody's bias, anything like that. And there's a calculation that goes along with it, and it fries my brain every time I try to explain it, much less look at it. You stop at 2176. Yeah, hang on. Cat's being naughty again. But the neat thing about this site here as well is they tell you the valuation of the company, what its intrinsic value is based upon the current metrics of the company. And then they compare it to what the current market is looking at, and how it's looking at the company. And when you look at the intrinsic value versus what the prices of the company is right now, they still float the company at roughly 44% undervalued, which is significant. And when you look at a lot of the data of Cover Corporation, they still have a lot of value. They still, if they were to liquidate the company itself, and they were to sell off the company itself, and the important parts of the company are their IP, the characters, the vast library of icons, of patch streams, of character voices, so on and so forth. There's a lot of stuff that adds up, which does give it legitimacy to say, yeah, that the company is worth what the intrinsic value is. But the problem is the actions of the people that are running the company are the ones that are basically making it kind of like, okay, well, everyone keeps thinking this company's worth this much money, but yet for whatever reason they just aren't able to keep their value, in the stock market. So what is the big deal, And part of the reason is because you have Yago and this now new board of directors, and they have just been splurging on the revenue that they're spending the revenue before it even gets reported. That's how fast they're going through it. And they still are managing to pocket about, anywhere from, I think it's like 200 to 400 million yen per quarter in retained earnings. It's like, okay, So, it's mind-numbing. It's really mind-numbing what they're doing, because in one aspect, they are telling investors, we know that we are more or less undermining our company in order to dream big. But then on the other hand, they're saying, please don't divest in our company, because we need your money so we can dream big and gamble with your money, and hopefully we'll make it back later. That's basically what they're saying, and whereas if you look at any color, it's so weird, and I don't know why I look at it so differently. Because when I look at any colors reports and I look at the data that comes out of their company, they always seem to basically say, okay, this is how much we're bringing in, this is how much we're spending, this is how much you guys are giving us, and this is how much we're returning to you, because we don't need this much money right now, so we're giving it back to you, and if you want to give it back to us later, go ahead, and if not, that's fine, but we're gonna try to make your money your stock's worth more later on down the line. And it's like, okay, I'm sold. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think the European market is very much primed for having someone try to break into it. I have seen some effort also to try to break into like the Latino market, and even like the Brazilian market. I don't think that was very successful, but I have seen some efforts on that end as well. I honestly think that, I think part of the reason why they haven't tried to break into the European market is because it's regulated a lot heavier than like the United States market, and it's probably regulated just as hard, if not harder, than the Japanese market, if I remember correctly. And honestly, I don't know what kind of reciprocal laws are connected between the European market and Japan, but part of the reason why the United States was number one choice for both companies was because there is such an established bond of understanding and trade between our two countries that it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're going to go international, you automatically try to go into the United States market first, because they have the wealthiest pockets out of all the companies out there. Now, I think one of the other reasons why they're hesitant to go into the European market is also because of the global tensions over there, and then also the European market has a lot of financial problems that they've been trying to work through. But so does Japan. But I think Japan is probably, hopefully, going to find some answers here in the next few months. But we'll see. Well, so far the people that voted up to 5% on the polls look like they have won so far. It looks like, at least for now, it looks like they have stabilized at about 21-28, which isn't bad. Watch. I'm gonna say that and it's gonna drop. Don't drop. Actually, I'm gonna say, yeah, do drop. Do drop so I can buy more. Well, while I have while I'm thinking about it, and while I have a live mic in my hand here, I'm I do want to clarify one thing I've said in the past, and I've also said in a lot of my comments, either on X or on my community tab or in the comment section. A lot of people don't really seem to understand, and I didn't really understand the concept of it either, about why drops like this and drops heavier than this with a company can actually be a good thing. And I point back, my classic example is that, pointing back to when Any Color, had their monumental drop. Everyone was cheering, "Yay, we sunk the yacht, we did it, we brought them down, they're never gonna recover," right? And I went out, bought their stock, 92% return a year later, right? And that's one of the fundamental things that people really don't understand when it comes to buying stock of a company for anyone, for any company in any market, in any industry. People don't understand it. If you and that's why the intrinsic value of a company is vital for people to understand. You need to understand what the fundamentals are that make that particular company run, and whether or not that company is healthy enough to withstand a drop like that, and whether or not their management is capable enough to see the company through that drop and make changes in order to make that company a better place so the price goes back up in value. And from everything that Riku was saying, and everything that, all the literature, all the reports that were coming out of Any Color, people were trashing it. People were, saying, "Oh, look at this. They're lying here. They're lying there. All this other stuff." But they were all looking at that information through a biased lens, through biased eyes. They were. They had all these opinions, but they didn't have any facts backing it up. All they were doing is, looking at what was being said and saying that they were lying. And I could not find fault in what was being, what was coming from the company, and that's why I believed in them. And that's why my investments paid off, and why they're now seeding and saying, "Well, I guess it pays to suck a and get paid by Any Color." It's like, you know what? You're just jealous because they're holding an empty bag. I got paid. Sucks for you. I don't care. I got paid. I got $5,000 for every 100 shares I bought of the company. You got what? Nothing. And that's basically what it broke down to. I made back. I was able to cash out $5,000 for every 100 unit or 100 shares that I bought of the company. It's like, yeah, you know what? I can live with that. Can you live with that? And I guess you can't live with that, but I can live with it. And that's the same thing with what I think about cover as well. And I was there's a viewer that comes through often that speaks French, and I try to talk back to him in French as well as the best way I can through DeepL and through AI and everything else. and try to try to talk to him and try to, give him my opinion on things and whatnot. And that opinion is, that cover is going to drop down. That they are heavily experimental. They are trying to do a lot of great things, but they're all over the place with what they're trying to do. And first and foremost, they have to rein in the amount of money that they're spending. They have to cut costs and cut the waste somewhere. They have all these VPs on this board of directors now. They have to start doing something with these people and all these people that they've been hiring, and get get the cost under control and make their company efficient if they're going to work on all these projects at the same time. That's fundamental number one. I mean, I don't get why they haven't done that yet. And the part that kind of baffles me the most about it, and it goes the same for cover as it does for any color. I've read it in both companies. Is that there are people that get hired on for both of these companies, and they say that day one they come in, they ask their fellow coworkers, okay, so what am I supposed to do? And they tell them, okay, you need to go and do this. And they go, okay, great. How do I do it? And they go, you'll figure it out. And it's like, really? There's no training manual. There's no, this is how you do it. This is, no instructional guide. There's nothing to help, these new hires figure out what their job is or how they do it. I mean, they got hired for a job, yeah, but, were they hired because they had the skill set in place, but they just need to learn how to do the job, or did they get hired because they had the knowledge of how to do the job and they just need to go do it? I mean, what's missing here, Well, they're ticking along pretty well here. So, I mean, at least for now, it looks like they've leveled off at 21-27. So they're down -3, which isn't terrible when you take into account this is 6 months. Let's go out year to date. So this is year to date, and we adjust to percentage. If we go from year to date, so year to date they're about 15%. Is that right? 19%. Okay, so they're about 19% year to date that they're down. And if we look at their high from February, they're still down about 37%. But they're at least making headway, I mean, so that's a plus. Now, something I did want to also kind of warn people about is that, we've had this somewhat muted dip here, and fortunately this dip is not as bad as how bad it could have been. However, if you look at the seasonal charts here, and I'm I just want to bring this up here as a precaution. When you look at the seasonal charts here, cover is at least in a better position percentage-wise than they were last year, and they haven't registered the plunge that they saw in 2023 or in 2024. However, there are still two. Well, actually, for them it'll be a back-to-back day, but Japan reports their GDP on Friday, and that could be a bad day for any color, or for cover report rather. Japan's economy had contracted at the last report, which is a typical sign of recessionary type of indications, and there is a lot of anxiety going on about that, which probably explains a lot of why you're seeing what we're seeing on the market here. But they don't report till Friday, and going along with what is reported on the same day. So economic calendar here. Why did I suddenly have every? Okay, so when we look at the calendar here, we'll adjust it for Japanese time, and then we'll do this week. Okay, so when we look down towards the end of the week here, we see oil and energy reports here for United States on Wednesday. None of these really have much impact on Japan. Thursday, core PPI, initial jobless claims. These can have a significant impact on the Nikkei and also on the US dollar. So this could have a significant impact on the Japanese market. These will all report, and then immediately after, Japan will be releasing their GDP reports, and I believe, was it quarterly? One of these two, I don't remember which one it is. One of them showed signs of contraction, and that's never a good thing. You want to see their GDP go up, not down. So yeah, that could be kind of a bad omen for them as well. If their GDP comes back and the market had contracted a second time, two straight contractions in a row, basically stoke the fears of recessionary pressures, and they're already trying to recover from market stagflation. So that basically means if the third quarter comes around and their market contracts a third time, they'll officially go into a recession, and we'll have the whole thing play out like what happened February of 2024 all over again, and that everyone drops, the price of the yen goes out of control, all that fun stuff, and then needy sunsy haters think that they actually did something important. You have to explain to them that they don't believe you, that kind of thing. So yeah, so anyways, so that's what that is. So we'll need to keep an eye on that here, and that is coming up Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday. So that's right around the corner. So what we're gonna do here for the rest of the week, I have a lot of work that is cut out for me going ahead. I will be doing a breakdown of the quarterly report. I'm really gonna have to cut it down into chunks because there is a lot to get through, and knowing me, I talk a lot, and I have to try to cut down what's in my script because there's just so much stuff that I need to get through. So I'm gonna try to keep it, maybe 1 or 2 videos at the most, because after that we have 44, and I haven't read all these yet. 45 question and answers that were asked at the shareholders meeting, and I've only read up to, I think, question 7, and it's like, oh, there is so much here I have to get through. This is part of the reason why I always check the Japanese side of things as well, because they always release stuff on the Japanese side that you see on the English side, so I gotta get through that as well. And then I also have a concurrent project I have been working on the side that I had wanted to try to get done and released here, but cause I had figured that they would drop their report, maybe drop a Q&A, a short Q&A like always, and then just move on. But no, they did all of this, and it's like, so, and I want to try to get through as much as possible, because we only have a month away before Any Colored releases their report. Hopefully there's a lot less complicated. I'm just like, fingers crossed they're less complicated. So anyways, so that's what the rest of the week is going to look like. I am going to try to get through as much of this as possible, and if I have to kind of skimp on some of the bells and whistles on the videos, I'll do what I have to do to try to get them through. But hopefully we'll at least get a couple of them out here by the end of the week. So we'll be working on that offline, and of course I always let you guys know when I post the videos on the YouTube channel. Guys, thank you so much for getting me to 2,000. I know that there's been a lot of a lot of people have just suddenly come in, and there's been a lot of people that have sent me direct messages on X and other places that they're like, wow, there's actually somebody out there that is telling it like it is, and it makes me feel happy that I've been putting that persistence out there, and been trying to use as many different ideas and tools and everything else that I've been using just to try to get myself kind of recognized out there, and not I mean, I never wanted to be famous, or anything like that, but I just, I just wanted to try to get, the message out there. Hey, there's somebody out there that's telling it like it is, and you don't have to believe these people, and these people, there are people that are out there that actually care about the VTuber community, and that you could use what I say and what I do as as the example against what they're saying. I mean, that's why I take so long posting my content, is because I fact check everything I put out there. I don't source my information from somebody else and then just accept what they say as okay, yeah, they went and they fact checked it, so that they're telling me that this is right, so it must be right, and then just regurgitating what they've said. I have actually gone out and verified it myself, or found it myself and verified the information myself, and that's why it takes me so long to put my stuff out. But I try to put out quality content, not just BS like what other people do. So anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and call it a night here, guys, and that way I can get back to working on the other parts of the content I've been working on for you guys, and hopefully I'll be able to get at least one or two videos out and uploaded here by Friday. Second video up hopefully by Sunday, if I'm fortunate enough to be able to get everything scripted and all the visuals curated and stuff like that. So, and then hopefully after that I'll be able to start working on this Q&A. There's a lot of stuff in here that I kind of also want to kind of just insert in with the earnings report, so I might also be doing that, so we'll see. So anyways, thank you guys so much for dropping in. It's been a long time since I've streamed live, and I'll be honest, for a minute there when I started, I felt like I was like streaming for the first time again, so I kind of froze at the beginning. So, but thank you guys so much for stopping by, even if you are a lurker. I appreciate you. And Alex, thank you so much for dropping in. I always appreciate people coming in and talking, even if you talk and then lurk, or if you lurk and then talk, it doesn't matter to me. Umberto, you are this you are a lifer, and I appreciate you've always been around and always dropping in, saying, hey, don't be afraid to say hey in my comment section, and in my community tab. It doesn't bother me if you're just dropping in to say hello, my friend. There are a couple of people from Japan who do the same thing, and I appreciate them. They drop in, they say good morning, they say good evening, or they tell me nice work. It doesn't matter. I just appreciate the fact that there are people that drop in, they say hey, You know, they still know. I still know you're around. You're doing okay. You know, I'll be truthful to you two guys. You know, hey, look at that. We got someone from Switzerland. I appreciate that, my friend. You know, I appreciate that. And I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you two here right now. You know, I mean, every person that comes through that I remember, that has stuck around, that I can remember their names. You know, I wonder how you guys are doing, and especially like if I haven't seen you post a comment in a while, or like if I go live and I don't see you drop in, I wonder if you're okay. I actually worry about some of you guys that I know you know, certain, you know, off the record comments, you know, or conversations that I've had with certain people on Discord and stuff like that. You know, I worry about people that, you know, have come through my channel, and it's because, you know, I mean, I care about you guys as individuals. I mean, what I do content wise, I do it because I want to do it. You know, I'm just glad that you guys come by and you guys enjoy listening to me do what I'm doing. You know, we're all doing this. You know, we're all here because we want to be. You know, and if you're not here, you know, I hope you're doing well. You know, you're important to me, just like, you know, just like, you know, as somebody who is performing for somebody who is, you know, coming here to be entertained or listen to somebody talk, you know. So I appreciate it. You know, that's the way I am on my channel. You know, and as you ask anyone who's been here since I started streaming, you know, I'm ultra casual like that. So it's just, you know, don't be afraid to say hi. So, alright guys, you guys take it easy, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever the case may be for you guys. Thank you so much for dropping in, my friends. This is Marko signing off. Peace. Take it easy.
You gotta take control. Life's too short. Get out of your head, make a better life instead. You gotta give it all your best. So put your hands up to the sky and